Hello, TOEIC teachers. What do you think is most important? Teaching TOEIC grammar or teaching TOEIC vocabulary? I'm sure you have an opinion on this. This question has been troubling me for quite some time. So I've done some research, and the experts have convinced me that vocabulary is vital. This is Ellen Baker Dubois from Business English Allure, and I'm hoping to convince you too that vocabulary is vital. I discovered that in all the 200 questions on the complete exam, 76% of those questions required TOEIC vocabulary to answer the question correctly, and only 24% of those questions required a knowledge of grammar in order to answer correctly. So that's 152 questions on vocabulary and only 48 questions that require grammar skills to answer the question correctly. Is that surprising to you? Maybe not. It did confirm my suspicions, because I knew that the only real grammar questions, pure grammar questions, were in parts 5 and 6 of the reading section. So why do so many online TOEIC training courses focus on grammar review when now we know that vocabulary is so important? I was lucky to find a coupon to take the official TOEIC training course offered by the ETS website. I did the full course, all 3 modules, high beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I saw that 1/2 of the lessons were devoted to grammar review, including, a full review of verb tenses. So I asked myself, maybe there were grammar questions in other parts of the test. So I picked up this book that contains 2 updated practice tests from ETS. So these are official practice tests. This book happens to be in French, which is not a problem for me, but it was basically the only practice tests I could find that were official and up to date. So I decided to study all 200 questions and to determine if I needed a grammar knowledge to answer the question correctly, or if I needed business vocabulary. Sometimes I noticed that I needed a little of both. So I kept score meticulously. You're probably wondering what I considered a grammar question. And those had, in the 4 answer choices, those would have word families or adjectives and adverb choices. Sometimes there would be a question of verb tense, the same verb tense in the question and in the answer choices. Maybe there was a choice of prepositions or phrasal verbs. So that's what I considered grammar. So there's 2 parts to the TOEIC, a listing section, parts 1 to 4, and there's a reading section, parts 5 to 7. So in those 100 questions in the listening section, I only found 8 questions that tested grammar. And those were included in part 2, where you have, you listen to a question or a statement and you have to choose the best response. So in the reading section, I only found 39 questions that tested grammar. And those were in parts 5 and 6, incomplete sentences and incomplete texts. Just as I suspected. I wanted to show you these 2 examples of how I decided if it was grammar or vocabulary question. And these two examples are from part 2, questions and responses. So these are listening questions. And the first example, why did you come to the office early today? A, because I had to finish a report. B, usually at 8:30 in the morning. And C, oh, I see a little mistake there, excuse me. And C, I'm sorry, but I can't. So answer choice A is correct. It gives a reason. Answering the question, why did you come? And it gives the answer, because. Both the question and the response are in simple past. So same verb tense in question and response. Answer choice B is in present simple, so that's not working out. And answer choice C, I'm sorry, but I can't. We did not make a request in the question. So for me, this was pure grammar. Easy. Now, the second example, how will I know if the baseball game is canceled? You could look on the team's website. Yes, I knew that because you chose a different date. Now here, I consider this to be half grammar and half vocabulary. The grammar, how will I know if the baseball game is canceled? The answer choice A, you could look on the team's website. That's offering a suggestion to the question. So I really like that. B and C just don't answer the question. So the vocabulary is a little bit rich from American sports, baseball game, canceled, team's website. So I gave it half grammar, half vocabulary. So let's hear from two experts to see if they have the same opinion that vocabulary is vital. So our first expert will be Grant True. He's the author of the course book Tactics for TOEIC, and that is published by Oxford University Press. And they did an interview with him to ask him what's the biggest challenge facing TOEIC test takers when they're preparing for the test. Let's listen to him.
All right, well, the big one, of course, is vocabulary. The main issue why it causes problems for low-level students on the TOEIC is they just don't know enough words. The listening skills and reading skills, all that stuff is important, of course, but if they can't understand keywords in the question, if they can't understand the meaning, then they're just not getting anywhere from the get-go. So that's the single biggest problem for sure.
Our second expert is James Carraway. He's an experienced TOEIC teacher, and he's answering a question from a new TOEIC teacher in EnglishForum.com. He writes eloquently, so let's read his response, his tip. So here we are on the website EnglishForums.com. Tips for teaching TOEIC. So his first word of advice is, throughout your preparation for listening, focus on actively building the student's vocabulary. Actively pester your students to keep TOEIC vocabulary and Lexis journals. I'd say vocabulary skills, specifically knowing the business context words and phrases tested on the exam, is about 50% of beating the TOEIC by raising a candidate's score 200 points or so. 25% is specific test prep skills, and the last 25% is what is generally called language proficiency or competency skills, grammar. So we have scrolled down, and here is James Carraway's last word of advice. Vocabulary. Stop and drill, he suggests. Make up word sheets, review, translate. Get the vocabulary working until the students hate you. He says it will make you feel that you are betraying your honorable profession of a language trainer. But that's TOEIC training. As he says, we just have to get the job done. So thank you, James. I hope that you're convinced now that your TOEIC training course should be 75% vocabulary and 25% grammar. I've also got 2 tips here that I think are important. Make sure that your vocabulary games are oral. And by practicing in class, when the students know how to pronounce a new word, they will recognize it when they hear it. The second tip is all of your grammar games must have a TOEIC theme. So the students will pick up the vocabulary while they are learning grammar. And some of these themes are commonly tested or general office vocabulary, photocopier, email. There's business travel, entertaining, dining, and eating out. On the TOEIC website, you can find the full list of all the TOEIC topics that are tested. So don't hesitate to go to my website, businessenglishalure.com, where you can find different grammar games, linking words, prepositions, phrasal verbs, all with these TOEIC business vocabulary. I'll leave links in the description below where you can find the English forum as well as the interview from Oxford University Press. So thanks a lot, and I hope this was useful. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to receive notices when a new TOEIC teaching video comes out. Thanks a lot. Ciao.